So today we're going to talk about one of the enemy's biggest tricks. Today we're going to talk about distraction. The enemy will seem to get us time and time again with distractions. They come in all shapes, form, and fashion. They come multiple times throughout our lives, multiple times throughout every stage of our lives. Sometimes they're undetected. Sometimes they're detected, but we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to get rid of them. We don't know how to break the cycle of dealing with distractions. One distraction that I can think of, one of the biggest distractions, we know that the Lord blesses us through relationships with others. And the enemy can distract us through relationships with others as well. So when we meet someone, whether that's, in a romantic relationship or in a platonic, friendship or whatever the case may be, one of the questions that we want to ask is not per se ask that person, but to, pray to see who sent that person into our lives and what's the purpose of that person being in our lives. Because even if it is a friendship, sometimes friendships are not meant to last forever. Sometimes they're only meant to, to be in our lives for a season. So we want to know what the reason for that season is so that we can maximize the opportunities that, the Lord sends us. If they are not sent by the Lord, then we do want to go ahead and get out of that relationship as soon as we recognize that it is, in fact, a distraction. Another thing that he will do, he will send chaos our way or trauma our way through other people. The enemy may send, I know when we are talking about narcissists, we hear that they tend to have blind monkeys, that they tend to have a group of people behind them that kind of co-sign and they kind of hop on the bandwagon to do whatever little torture or meddling or just a little nuisance type of thing to keep us distracted. So that's another one. He may other distractions may be chaos in the form of confusion. Chaos in the form of confusion can look like you're not quite sure which choice to make. Let's just say that you do meet two, people where you're not sure which person that you would make a better mate. That's a distraction from the enemy. Usually your gut will tell you the truth. Your gut will tell you the real answer, but when all else fails, pray over it. Pray over it, ask for signs, and the Lord will grant you those signs that you pray for. Even if He don't give you exactly the sign that you pray for, if you pay attention, your body may react to one person in one way and it may react to another person in a completely different way. And if you listen to the video that I had on how on test the spirit by the spirit. So on that video I go over how your spirit speak to the spirit in someone else. So you can tell by that way as well. Sometimes we deal with the confusion and chaos and everything, or these distracting relationships from family members. That's another way that you can have relationships that are sent your way to distract you. Sometimes someone may get overtaken by the spirit of distraction because they are in a negative energy for a long period of time. Meaning, if this person is harboring jealousy, if they are harboring envy, if they are harboring unforgiveness, if they are harboring deceit, if they are harboring pretty much any negative energy for a long period of time, if that goes unchecked, then that person can take on the spirit of distraction, and it will just feed whatever, spirit that they're dealing with. It will just feed it, and they will begin to cause distractions in other people's lives. That's why the saying goes that hurt people, and that misery loves company, because hurt people want others to hurt. A hurt soul wants to hurt others' souls, because at that moment, during the period that they are hurt, during the period that they are sitting in their misery, they are taken over by a spirit. They are taken over by the adversary. And remember, the enemy's goal is to steal, kill, and destroy. So they will want to take you off of your path of destiny. They want to move you away, as far away as possible, from your blessing. So those are the different, a few of the different types of relationships, but pretty much in any relationship scenario that you can think of is a way that the enemy can use that relationship for a form of distraction. Going back to confusion in the form of chaos, that can also look like something as simple as being late all the time, which that's something that I currently am battling with myself. So that's just me being transparent. But running late all the time is a form of confusion in the form of, chaos in the form of confusion, because being late will create chaos. Because now you're hustling and bustling, and now you're rushing and everything. And it seems as though you're confused because you wait until the last minute. That's a spirit of like delay. You're always waiting until the last minute, meaning you're pushing it all the way to the limit, trying to, and for one reason or another, you find everything to do except for what you are supposed to be doing to get you out the door in a timely manner, which is spiritual warfare, which distractions in general is a form of spiritual warfare. So that's just blanket statement. Any way that you are distracted, it is a form of spiritual warfare. So another thing that the enemy can use as distractions is things going wrong, or which people like to call it like having a basket with a hole in it. You can receive something good, but as soon as you receive it, then you lose it. Or you receive a lot of money, but you have a lot of, big things that you have to do with it, so you lose it. you know, just not being able to hold on to anything good. That's a form of distraction. Because what that does is that will put you in your head and have you ruminating and thinking over things over and over again, trying to see where did you go wrong. So that's another form of distraction. Things going wrong all the time is a form of distraction as well, because now you have to focus on whatever it is that's wrong. You have to focus on that, and you're not able to focus on your um, your main goal, which is your mission, is staying in alignment with your destiny, making sure that you are clear-minded enough so that you recognize and you see and you take advantage of each and every blessing. Um, Another way that the enemy can use us is, well, well, can use distraction is in the form of places that you have to go, like the job, placing you in environments of, in negative environments, just placing you in bad places, and it seems as though that you being in these places is somewhat out of your control. So this is the places that you have to work at, the places that you have to stay, the people that you have to be around. These are all forms of distractions, if they can be forms of distraction, if they are showing up in a negative way. Because as I said, that the Lord will use any and every relationship with others or with situations as a blessing, just as well as the enemy will use these same relationships with others, situations, and with places as a way to distract us. So let's just be mindful that distraction is a tactic of the enemy. Distraction is spiritual warfare. So when we see these things showing up in our lives, when we see that it is pulling us off of our path, it is pulling us away from our destiny, it's pulling us away from our blessing, then let's immediately do what we need to do to get back on that path. We know that it's spiritual warfare, so how do you fight spiritual warfare? In the spirit, in prayer. Also be mindful of what you are taking in. Be mindful of who you are around. Be mindful of where you go. So just be mindful of your surroundings. Make sure that you are in places and taking in things and around people that will edify you, that will affirm you, that will build you up, versus doing the complete opposite. If they're doing the complete opposite of affirming, of edifying, of anything positive, then it's a mere distraction, and that is not what we want. That is not what we want to be around. That is not what we will accept. So let's recognize these distractions as soon as possible so that we can go far away from it, because we know that distractions are trying to take us off of our path to destiny, off of our path of our destiny, off and away from our blessings. And this one last thing that I will mention, because I just thought about this. Another way that the enemy will use distractions is sometimes he will make some people, the way that, jealousy and envy works. So instead of you recognizing your blessing as a blessing, you may feel that you are not blessed, and you may want to have someone else's blessing. That's another distraction, because now you're not even concerned with your path. You're not in alignment anymore with your path because you don't see your path as good enough. You feel that you want to interject yourself onto someone else's path because you like the way that their path looks. Well, as the saying goes, that you can't walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Their path is not meant for you, but the devil is using that as a distraction because he's enticing you with someone else's path. He actually knew that more than likely you will fall for that trick and that you will succumb to their spirit of jealousy or their spirit of envy. So that's a trick of the enemy. So let's be mindful of these tricks so that we won't fall for it, no matter how enticing they look, no matter how easy they seem to be. Let's be mindful of it and know that distraction is spiritual warfare and it's a trick of the enemy. So until next time, let's stay vigilant.